Imagine trusting your real estate broker with a multi-million dollar sale only to find out that they lied to you about your money. That's exactly what happened to an Ontario couple selling their residence. This is John, and John is a successful real estate broker in Toronto, and he's about to make a mistake that's going to cost him $12,000. So it all started when John listed this couple's home for $2.3 million. And sure enough, it was a hot property and it sold right away. And the buyer who purchased the property said, "Hey, I like this home. Here's a reasonable offer. I'll give you a $130,000 deposit." And the seller said, "Okay, let's make a deal." Great. Well, after the paperwork was signed, the buyer requested that instead of a $130,000 deposit, how about I bring you a $72,000 deposit instead? Is that okay? And the seller said, "Okay, sure." But this is where things start getting a little messy because the buyer ends up bringing a $30,000 deposit and said, "Hey, I'll bring you that $42,000 balance by the end of the week." At this point, you're kind of stuck in it. So you say, "Okay, sure." And the end of the week comes and goes. And this is where it gets interesting. So the seller sends an email to John saying, "John, hey, did you get that $42,000 balance? Like, do we got all the money? Is it in the trust account? Are we okay?" And John replies back and says, "Hey, we're okay. We got the deposit, we got the check." Now, the truth is, 3 days before that email, actually, the brokerage knew that the wire transfer had failed and they did not get the money. Yet John had reassured his clients that we got the deposit, when that wasn't the truth. I guess he was hoping it was going to come in, but the money never came in. And the seller thinks, "Hey, I got the guy's deposit in the bank. Everything's okay. We're just waiting for closing day." So what happens next? Well, time passes and the closing date's coming around. And sure enough, on closing date, the property does not close. The buyer couldn't get the financing. And the seller says, "Well, that's too bad. I guess I'm just going to take their deposit and move on." But the deposit's short. And the seller's like, "Well, John, what's going on? Why is the deposit short?" Well, it goes to the Real Estate Council of Ontario and it determines that John lied to the seller, he misrepresented the truth, and they slapped him with a $12,000 fine. Property never sold, hasn't been sold since. Now, let me ask you, do you think that $12,000 fine was enough? Let me know in the comments below.